Well, hello everyone. I am going to give everyone a few minutes to see that I am live so you can just come on and jump in. As you see, I have a special guest with me today. We did this with my daughter, young adults, but then we're going to also do it with Nevaeh Harris. And I'm going to give her a few minutes to say hello to Facebook land and YouTube land, and then anything that you want us to know about her, and then we'll jump right into the questions.
Hi everyone, my name is Nevaeh, as she said, and I'm 20 years old, and I've always been in the church. I guess you can call it a church baby, for real. And I've been saved officially, for real, for I'd say about 3 years now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Nevaeh, for joining us. So, Nevaeh is actually one of the young adult leaders for Radical Faith Church. And so I asked her to come on because um, I just wanted her to talk about, how is life with her as a young adult? How does she move? What are some of the things that she deal with as a young adult? So, Nevaeh, when you decided to say that this is what you wanted to do, you wanted to be a leader of the young adults, you wanted to help lead and guide young adults. What was the passion that came from you for that?
Really, honestly, just it came from just looking at myself
Mm-hmm.
and like having to go through the process of being in the world 1 second and being out of the world completely sold out, and just being on both sides, and
Mm-hmm.
just thinking about how I wish I had somebody to really completely go to with questions and completely just let out feelings or concerns that I had. And I just want people to know that it's possible to do it at
Mm-hmm.
my age. It's possible to be set apart. It's possible to just live a good life without having to follow others, or, be easily influenced, or just doing what everybody else is doing just because, you know, it's just what everyone else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can be accepted. I just wanted people to know that, because honestly, from me being a 20-year-old, like just a young adult,
Mm-hmm.
period,
Mm-hmm.
um, it was a hindrance for me, a
Okay.
hindrance. And um, God revealed to me, like, is it worth your soul?
Okay.
Is it worth your soul? Living in the world and doing what everyone else is doing, is it worth your soul?
When you talk about hindrance, what was the hindrance?
Really, the hindrance was social media,
Mm-hmm.
friends, even down to clothes, going out and wanting just to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that was a big hindrance for me.
Okay. So what would you tell a young adult who is trying to now walk this path, who has recently been in the world and the Lord is pulling them into church? What advice would you give them?
Stay strong. Um, the enemy is going to come in many different directions with many different things, even things that you wouldn't expect him to come in. He could come
Mm-hmm.
with the TV, because like that was that way for me, like through TV and through music. Don't take everything with a grain of salt. Really, acknowledge everything to the full capacity. Don't just let things slide by. You know, ask God, talk to God about literally everything.
Uh-huh.
That's what I say.
Okay. So tell me about your journey. How was your journey from coming out of the world and coming into being a young adult? Even though you probably still have things that you are dealing with, because we all do. Even the grown ups, even the more mature saints, we still have same things that we deal with. But tell me about your journey that came from that to where you are now.
My journey between being in the world and then 1 second and being out of it the
Mm-hmm.
next. Whew. Okay, so when I first off, I was just in the world, and that was regular. I was dealing with a whole lot of stuff, just a whole lot of feelings, emotions that I was just carrying. And I didn't really understand that I didn't have to carry it until God revealed his love to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the most amazing, spectacular thing
Mm-hmm.
in my life. The best thing that I've ever felt in my life. It was so different.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't used to it because I just felt completely free in the moment. Free to yell out, free to scream, free to cry.
Mm-hmm.
And God revealed his love to me, and then after he revealed his love to me, I started seeing things through a different lens.
Okay.
It everything just wasn't the same for me.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't think about things the same. I couldn't talk about things the same. He kind of opened up a new door.
Mm-hmm.
And it was definitely a journey because it took me a minute to get to that point. It took a lot of just humbling myself.
Mm-hmm.
It took a lot of releasing feelings of caring so much, and I had to literally just give it to God.
Mm-hmm.
I had to give it to God.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a struggle because everything that I've ever wanted was to just be accepted and to be a part of something
Mm-hmm.
and to feel loved and all those different things. But I was just searching in the wrong places, like the world and friends at school and friends out of school and just from different people. And yeah, and once God revealed his love to me, things shifted.
Yeah. And I love how when we don't realize what we need is in God. And so we've always, it's always a search inside of us that is drawing us towards, who God is. It's drawing us towards him, but yet we fight with it because what's going to happen if I do say that I'm going to walk completely with God? Am I going to lose friends? Am I going to lose family? Am I going to lose people that I grew up with? And so it is a choice, but especially for like younger adults, it's not as easy because, what was the word Kiana say? You, F-O...
FOMO?
Yeah.
Fear of missing out?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, so talk to me, how did that affect you? Was there any fear of missing out for you?
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And still to this day, I may struggle a little bit with it, but I have to, just remind myself constantly of that same feeling that I felt when he blessed me with his presence.
Mm-hmm.
When he laid his love upon my whole body.
Mm-hmm.
I have to continue to remind myself that and remind myself of that feeling because, it's different when you're in the presence of God versus when you're out of the presence of God.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like those feelings start racing back again.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know if this is the correct thing to say, but I felt personally that sometimes when you're walking with God, it can be a little lonely. It can feel like it's just you.
Mm-hmm.
But I also realized that God wanted me to be kind of secluded,
separated,
mm-hmm. because he really wanted to talk to me. He really wanted me to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many things. I can be honest, I can be a little easily distracted. And there's so many things that can come to me at one time
mm-hmm.
to get my mind off of the main thing, the main focus, which is God.
Right. And but that's with everyone. So it's funny how you as a young adult, excuse me, could see that you feel like there's a lonely walk. You feel like you are walking the path by yourself. But I can tell you that many mature Christians, we feel the same way. There's seasons where God will pull us apart and separate us because he's trying to now either there's something that we have to learn on the journey. There's a a time where he just wants us to just seek him, to go to him for answers. So it's not just with the young adults. So when you know that what you go through as a young adult, we still go through as mature saints, how does that make you feel?
It definitely makes me feel like, okay, I'm actually not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And also that's where the what did you say in the beginning? Like the drive is with
Mm-hmm.
me for young adults,
Okay.
because I just really, really want them to understand that they are not alone. This
Right.
is not a fight that you have to fight alone. We are walking together. We are all listening and trying and discerning. We're all doing this together.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want people my age to just feel lost to the point where they don't even see God anymore. They're just focusing on how lost they are.
And and many times our purpose is our struggle. And so the thing that you struggled with the most is 9 times out of 10 the purpose that God is calling you. And so because you have seasons where you felt like this is what I need. I need someone to come alongside of me. I need someone to be there with me. I don't want to be alone. I wish I had someone that I could walk with that was my age, that's going through what I'm going through, so that we can talk about the things and share between each other, and even, with you being the leader of one of the small groups, I think that's amazing because, even in coaching, they say you don't have to know all the answers, but you have to be one step above the people that you're helping.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I'm taking a step forward, if you're moving with me, you may be a step behind me, but we're still on the path and on the journey together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the main thing that you really need to think about is, how do I continue to move as I'm helping the young adults move forward? So what are one of the things that you think you can do with them?
That I can do with them, I guess, help their eyes to be more open.
Mm-hmm.
Help them to see and to understand that it's deeper.
Mm-hmm.
It's deeper than what they're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
It's deeper than what you're feeling.
Well, I think the first thing should be you letting them know that they're not alone. Because when you realize that you are not alone, the way that you move is different. If I feel like I'm the only one here and I'm the only one doing this and I'm the only one struggling and I'm the only one dealing with life issues, then you will find yourself being isolated.
Mm-hmm.
But when you realize, wait a minute, I'm not alone, that there's other people that are dealing with the same thing, because most young adults are dealing with the same issues. It may be trying to fit in, FOMO, is that what you said?
Fear of missing out.
Yep, fear of missing out, and I'm sure you're not the only one. And I've also talked to Kiana, who is also one of the young adults leaders, and she feels the same way.
Mm-hmm.
The fear of missing out on something. But what is the something that you guys are missing out on? And I do believe that many times it's because the church has not allowed you to have a freedom that the world is letting the young adults have. And what I mean by that is, young man, pull your pants up. Young lady, pull your skirt down. Oh, well, you shouldn't sit this way. You shouldn't act that way. And many of the laws within the church may be keeping you guys out. Because do you feel that you can have fun in church as a young adult?
Currently, yes. In the past, there has been some times where I felt a little like, not so much.
Okay. Can you tell why? Can you say why?
Because it was very structured.
Okay.
It was very just structured, and it wasn't very many young adults saying things
Mm-hmm.
or speaking out. It was mainly led by the older generation.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But so with that being said, what are some of the things that you would like to see happen within church that will draw young adults in?
I would love to see more opportunities such as like maybe speaking, or maybe I just want them to feel comfortable enough to share testimonies, or to even, reach out for help, or just anything. I want them to feel free to do whatever they feel led to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I want it to be allowed.
Mm-hmm. Well, many churches have what it may not be young adults, but it's normally a children's Sunday where they have someone, maybe the young adult pastor or the youth pastor will come up and they would speak, but it's the youth did everything. They was the one singing on the praise and worship. They was the one doing the tithes and the offering. They was the one doing communion. And I think that's one of the things that will also keep them involved. They know that at least once a month that they are going to have a service that's dedicated to them. But I think many times young adults get lost. And you get lost because you're no longer a teenager and you're no longer a child. And so you're in that transition from teenager to adulthood, but there's a gap that you have to be in for a season that sometimes you're overlooked as a young adult.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that way with your transition?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we really have to start focusing on, because we have all the programs. We have all the programs for the children, for the kindergartners, for all the school age kids. We have programs for them. We have programs and things for the teenagers and the ones who are still in high school. But I have never seen anything that's where you can go to and say, okay, I'm going to use this book to help the young adults, or I'm going to use this to help, or maybe there's a mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things Kiana talked about when she was on here, she was talking about mentorship. One of the things that was lacking was the mentorship for young adults. How do you feel about mentorship?
I feel like mentorship can be very helpful. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think with mentorship being helpful, it still have to for you as a young adult, because I know I'm gonna have to pull this conversation out of Nevaeh. You see how I have to pull this one out. For young adults, what would you be looking for as a mentor? What in a mentor? The person that may come up to say, okay, I'm going to take you under my wing. I'm going to show you how to move in leadership. I'm going to show you how to teach the young adults. I'm going to show you. So what would you be looking for within a mentor?
I would look for love. I would look for someone who is just not judgmental,
Mm-hmm.
someone who is understanding, someone who can listen, someone who could just reassure me in a godly way,
Mm-hmm.
and someone who can be there
Mm-hmm.
and just really influence freedom.
Mm-hmm. But what does freedom look like to you?
Freedom looks like to me being able to scream to the top of my lungs, to praise God, and not think about what the congregation is going to think,
Mm-hmm.
or what the pastor is going to think, or what the people on the stage are going to think. Being able to run around the room, being able to share my testimony loud and proud.
Mm-hmm.
That's what freedom looks like to me. Being able to worship freely
Mm-hmm.
in any type of way, even if it's in dance. If I just randomly want to dance, being able to do that, because
Mm-hmm.
it's freedom.
Mm-hmm. And I think, with the way that we are moving within Radical Faith, I think that space is going to be given to you guys. Well, actually, that space is already there. There's nothing wrong, with people crying out. There's nothing wrong with them falling on the floor. There's nothing wrong with them running in the middle of service, or how God moves. And so I think, one of the things is for, us to really come alongside of you guys as young adults,
Mm-hmm.
so that you won't get lost in the shuffle. And I think, it's really important that, we really, and it may not be everyone. Like, you may not be able to talk to this person, Sister Fruit Loop, but you may be able to talk to Sister Frosty Flakes. So, but and be okay saying that this is the person that I need to go talk to, and make sure. Listen, I don't want us to be BFFs. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone who can tell me that I'm wrong, to help guide me in my weak areas, whatever that weakness is.
Mm-hmm.
What he said, Miss Dolly said, it's important for us as older adults, older Christians, to reach out and be cheering on the young people. God puts them in our lives, being consistent and understanding. Yeah, and that's what we have to do. And I think that's the gap that's missing. We make sure we have children's church, and we make sure we have the teenagers in a place to be poured into. But then we expect for them to go from here to go and sit in the congregation and be okay. And many times they're dealing with life. My hormones, my thoughts, my low self-esteem, things that even the mature adults don't even talk about. So how do we expect for you as young adult to tell me, listen, I'm having suicidal ideations. I'm dealing with low self-esteem. I'm dealing with imposter syndrome. When we, as the mature adults, we have our mask on and we show up and we're like, well, I'm blessed and highly favored. Life is great. I love God. And, but we never tell you, maybe there was a season where I made a mistake. I slipped up. And I think we have to go back to the testimonies. Not, we sometimes we have testimony service, but we need to get to a place where we have it, maybe just a young adult testimony where you can come alongside them and say, listen, when I was going through this transition, these are the things that I dealt with. These are the things that I have been through. So, Nevaeh, what are some of the things that if we was to put an ad in the paper, so to speak, and it says, this is what the young adults need, the young Christian adults need, what would you want in the ad?
That I feel like we need?
Mm-hmm.
We need someone to listen.
Okay.
We need a good listener.
Mm-hmm.
Someone to just listen. Someone who's understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And with many different point of views.
Mm-hmm. So do you want someone to listen and just be able to give you that space to grow? Or do you want someone to listen and to help you fix the things that you're talking about? Because, and I asked you that question because we have people who are fixers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fixer. So if you come to me and you say, this is what I'm going through, and I'm like, okay, this is how we're going to fix it. I want you to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. That's going to fix the problem. Or do you want someone who is going to be a listener?
Mm-hmm.
That just, and it's funny, I think we said it last time when I had Kiana. With Kiana, I have hats. Which hat do you want me to put on? Because the answer that you get from mama is not going to be the answer that you're going to get from minister. It's not going to be the answer that you're going to get from the prophetess. It's not going to be the answer that you're going to get from the coach. So, and I had to learn how to do that because every time she would come to me, it was like, Mama mode, let me fix it. Mm-hmm. This is what you got to do. Okay, I need you to get up a little bit early. I need you to make sure you do this. Lay your stuff out beforehand, to make it easy. And she was like, that's not what I needed. So I guess you're going to have to let whoever you're talking to know, I just need a vent. And I used to have a friend, and when she would call me, I would say, don't say nothing. Just listen to me. Let me say what I'm struggling with. Let me say what's on my mind and on my heart. And once I say it out loud, then I can now process it because I couldn't process it when I'm holding it in. And I think a lot of people just need space, especially the young adults, am I right? You just need a space that if I want to scream, I can scream. If I want to cry, I can cry. Is that what you guys need?
I would say so.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their own needs. Everybody's going to come from different backgrounds, different stories. Like with me, I'm somebody who's been in the church. Mm-hmm. So like people may look at me, my age especially, and just be like, oh, well, you seem like you got it all together. I don't see what would be wrong with you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you have someone else who is, it's evident that something is wrong, and they put it out there. They haven't really been in the church that much, and it really just depends. And we need someone who is going to be able to meet everybody's needs and who can come from different point of views, who has experience, who has wisdom, who is very strong when it comes to their relationship with God. Someone who can listen to God, hear from God, discern. So we really need that. So I'd say with people coming, we also need somebody who has the patience to deal with everything. And yeah, I feel like that's what we need.
And I think, and able to get that, we have to hear you guys' voice. Like, we're going to assume this is what you need. Because as parents, because many of the older adults, we're parents. We have grown children. We've been through life. So we don't necessarily come to you and say, what do you need? We try to tell you what you need.
Exactly.
And you just need to pray more. You need to turn down your plate. But if we're honest, we don't like when people come to us. Because if I'm having a problem and it's to the point that I go to you and say, hey, I'm dealing with this, and if you say pray about it, I'm going to have to catch myself, because do you not think that I didn't pray about it before I came to you? Did you not believe that I sought the Lord and tried to get an answer, but yet because of my inner turmoil, because of what I'm dealing with, I have not been able to really get the answer or hear God because of all the noise that I'm dealing with? And I think that's many of the things, because the church say pray about it. Oh, did you seek the Lord? Did you hear the Lord? But I'm in a place where my mind is louder than my spirit, man. I can't hear because of the noise that's going on. And I think sometimes, Nevaeh, we overlook that. We overlook the struggles that we went through as a young adult. For me, I didn't grow up in church. So I got saved before my mom got saved. So we never went to church when I was growing up. We never, I didn't know anything about who Jesus was, or anything when I went into the military. And even though I love it because God knew me before I knew him, but we have to get to a place where we give you guys space to say, I'm not okay. Even with seasoned saints, we have to give room to say, I'm not okay. And I don't want you to pull me to the altar, and I don't want you to slap oil on my head, and I don't want you to try to cast out a demon. I'm having an emotional time. I'm having a mental turmoil that I'm struggling. I just need you to listen. I need you to know that I'm not okay. And don't get me wrong, I love praying, and I love putting oil, and I love calling you to the altar. But what do you do when your struggle is and it doesn't fall into those categories? What do you do? Nevaeh.
When our struggle doesn't fall into those categories?
Yeah. When it's not demonic, when I'm really having a mental issue. I've watched, I don't know what the show was, and as I was watching the show, the man told the lady, throw your medication away. That if you believe God, you can throw your medication away. And she had a nervous breakdown because the medication that was keeping her, and I'm not saying that God can't heal you. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying let's be real. There's some times that you may have to take medicine for a season until God can give you your full deliverance. So, how do we, Nevaeh, how do we help you? How do we come alongside of you? You said you want us to listen and you want us to just be there for you. But what are some of the deep things that you as young adults deal with?
Some of the deep things that us as young adults deal with, I see a lot is, depression. And I'm going to be honest, our generation is just completely different from y'all's generation. from what I've seen, is y'all's generation is more tough, more strong. I don't I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but our generation moves a lot on our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
We base a lot on our feelings. Sometimes our foundation is our feelings.
Right.
And I think y'all's foundation can kind of be based on reality. Like, what do I have to do? Like, I can't just, be sad. Like, I got to push these feelings away and I got to be strong. So
Mm-hmm.
for us, we kind of wear our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But for y'all kind of hide the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And since we wear our feelings so much, we want to speak about our feelings. We want to talk about our feelings. We want to let our feelings be known. We want to put it in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very different. It's very hard to in my experience, there has been some times where I have come to someone in like an older generation, and sometimes it was good, but sometimes it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not bad, but it just wasn't the response that I feel like I needed.
Okay.
And that has happened more times than from what I did need.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that maybe it's weird, honestly, because it's like sometimes we need to deal with it, but at the same time, we just don't need to be alone. We need to be heard.
Right.
We need to be handled with care.
Yeah. And I think with us, as with my generation was be seen, not heard. So you respect your elders. When grown folks are talking, you get out the room. You don't have any emotions. You don't have any input in the conversation. You go in the other room. And even with my even with Kiana, it was very difficult because she was like, "Mom, I just want you to listen." I'm like, "No, absolutely not. I'm grown. You're being disrespectful. Go in the other room." But not knowing that your generation just needed to be heard. And it wasn't a disrespect thing. It was just, I don't know what else to do. I can't just be quiet and go in the room. I need to be able to tell you. And it was hard for many of us, our generation, to be able to look at you and not see it as disrespect.
Yeah.
Because we grew up saying it was disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
If you talked back, it was disrespectful. If you made a noise, it was disrespectful. If you wanted to say how you feel, it was disrespectful. And so we was raised to anything outside of talking. When I talk to you, is disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
But your generation now and the young adults, especially the ones that's dealing with leaving the world and trying to be, walk as that Christian life, and they're dealing with all the church mothers and all the older ones that said, "Listen, sit down and be quiet. You don't need to say anything. Why is your skirt so high? Yes, stay in the child's ways." But it's because that's how we grew up. So and I love how it's called bridging the gap, because this is definitely a gap that has to be fixed, because as long as we keep making you sit down and be quiet, you're a different breed. Like, this young generation is a different breed. The way that you guys think, the way that you move, and I have to tell Kiana sometimes, I'm like, don't even think about it. But for me, it's easy. But if I'm honest, Nevaeh, a lot of my generation are struggling because we've been told to be strong. We've been told to put on the mask. Never let them see you sweat. So we don't even know how to show emotions because we've been told to shut our emotions down. Yeah, so I do understand, because it would be hard for me to understand you having that emotion if I never do inner healing. And I think that's something that we have lacked within the church in my generation, is really allowing ourselves to heal from mother wounds, father wounds, past traumas, hurt, whatever it is. We haven't allowed ourselves to heal from that. So because we have not, we project it onto you. You know, you shouldn't cry. You know, one of the things that would, when I say if you really wanted to get to me, is crying. Even when my soldiers, whenever I would, yelling at them or whatever, and they would cry, it would just do something to me. Like, get out of my face. Like, I don't want to see the tears. Go in another room. But it was like that with Kiana. But with Kiana it was different because I didn't know how to move with the emotion, but I wanted to fix it. Who'd have made my baby cry? What I need to go. So instead of me being there and holding her and telling her it's okay, I done got into mother mode. Let's go. Grab your shoes. Who made you cry? Let's go to the playground.
And it's actually the same as like mother mode is kind of the same as the older generation just trying to talk to us and help us because it's kind of like who did it? What do we need to do? And on the other end of things, it's like, well, you need to do this, and you should have did this. Well, are you doing this? You know what I'm saying? It's more like question, like let's have a conversation about it instead of like let's deal with this.
Right.
What is making you feel this way? Because, like I said, our generation is very feelings based.
Right.
Foundation is feelings, and so can you imagine just always having these feelings that are even like bombarding your mind and just everything. Like it gets to the point where it's overwhelming and you try to go to the person that you feel like you're safest with, the person you feel like you're safest to, and it's just structure what you need to do. What can we, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's not enough to just try to fix it. Sometimes we really just need to deal with it. We need to figure out why. We need to get to the root of it. Because sometimes fixing it won't really fix the root of it. We need to get the root. That's fixing it.
Right. And I think also the way that we ask questions based on the way you guys want us to ask questions is two different things. Like we're asking questions to get the information to be able to help you to fix it. But you want us to ask questions so that it will bring out the emotional part of what you're feeling. And so it's two different things because we're still trying to be in that fix mode. So, what are some of the things, as a young adult, what are the questions that we can ask that will allow you guys to have that space to be able to say, I'm not okay?
Just being more observant and checking on people. If you feel something, don't just, be afraid to really acknowledge it because honestly, these feelings, they need to be exposed. I think that these feelings that have been like over my generation, I don't think that it's of God. Well, most of it mainly. I think that is something that is evil. Because, just from my experience. And then like when I see other people who are just like me, my age, but different lifestyles, they're dealing with the same thing I did. And it was just feelings, but it was too many at one time. And so I really wish that I was asked questions like, what's going on? What's making you feel this way? And not to the point where it's like almost interrogating or making me feel like I shouldn't be feeling this way. Like, what's going on now? Why are you feeling this way? You have no business to be, you know what I'm saying? Not like I don't want to feel like I'm getting in trouble because you're asking me what's wrong. I want to feel that you care.
Right.
Because if I don't feel that you care, these feelings are going to be still with me. But yet it's going to add more feelings. Because now I'm feeling that you don't care. And so I'm having these feelings that are wild. And now I feel like the safest person that I have doesn't care. So it's just a lot at one time, especially for a young person, my age and below.
Well, I don't even think it's below. I think when the young adult age, you all still feel the same way. It's like, who do I go to? Where is my safe place? And and we may have to do a lot better as mature saints to be able to come alongside you and say, because we do look at it like, what do you have to struggle about? You got this, and you got this, and you got the clothes, and you got the shoes, and you got the this. So what's going on with life? How could life be so bad when you're doing this? But because we never allowed ourselves, as when we grow up, to have the emotions. So if anyone's in the comments or watching, have you gone through this transition with a young adult who, we have been told to be one thing, but we don't know how to be what they need. And I think a lot of and just like you said, many of the young adults deal with the same thing: low self-esteem, imposter syndrome. They deal with, suicidal ideations, the thoughts that's running through their head. Sometimes it's so overwhelming that you just want to disconnect from everything and everybody, So, yeah, that's what we're going to have to really, do. So when you are doing your young adult group, what's something that you're going to put into place that will be a safe word? Are you going to have a safe word? Are you going to have, where someone is coming in and they don't want to talk, but it's a word that they can say that you all know, let's just pray. We don't need to know your situation. We don't need to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I think, the church needs a safe word. Like, what is the word that you can come to the leader and say without telling your problem, without telling what you're going through, without, because sometimes it's the shame that's tied to what you've gone through, that you just need a safe place to say, pineapples. Listen, maybe not pineapples, oranges, whatever it is, so that we know, okay, I need a leader to get with her. I need you to just pray with her. I need you to just, walk with her through whatever is going through. Do you think that will make it easier for you as young adults?
To know if we need to pray, if someone had a safe word?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you speaking to me as a leader or as just a young adult?
I'm going to answer as a leader and then answer as a young adult.
Okay, for me as a leader, I probably would feel it already, but I think that is a very good idea to have a word so that people could come to me. Or like, one thing I do expect to do is just to pray, offer that space. Does anyone need prayer?
Mm-hmm.
Or, just offer a space for people to just chill for a second, to where I'm not talking to everybody, to where everybody is talking within themselves. And then, I can go up to people and talk to people, and if I feel, or if they feel like, I need some prayer right now,
mm-hmm.
then I'm going to go to the throne,
mm-hmm.
go in battle mode.
Right.
But me as a young adult, yes, I do. I would love that, to have a word, to be able to, just go up to one of the leaders in my church and just say, listen, pineapple.
Right.
Or, I think that is a good idea because, it's tough having everybody see all the time, what's going on.
Yeah. But I think also if we had a space, not just for young adults, but for anyone that will say, this is a non-judgmental zone. That, there's no judgment. And, and I know that if I go to this person, I don't have to worry about hearing it when I'm passing through. That is the worst thing that you could ever, is when you pour your heart out to someone and then you walk by someone telling your business. Like, that is the worst thing,
Yes.
Not just as a young adult, but as a woman, as a man, as a leader, as a pastor, as an apostle, but we have to, I think with young adults, we just have to make sure you guys are heard. I mean, I think this is and you was born in when?
2004.
2000. So I think that age group between the 95s to your age group have, they just want to be heard. I just want you to stop and listen.
Yeah.
Can you hear what I'm saying? And I was, one of the things Kiana used to always say. And one day I said, tell me what you want. and she stopped because she's never been given that option to say, just tell me what you want. And I think that's what you need. What do you need? Tell me what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I give you what I think you need, it may not be what you actually need.
Right.
You know, and these are good points that you need to look at when you, especially as the one of the young adult leaders, because you know if you're feeling this way, then your whole group is probably feeling the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've made bad mistakes. I did things that I'm ashamed of. I've gone through certain things in life that I don't know what to do, and so um, I think that that's really good. You know, you brought up some really good points that hopefully us as mature adults have heard you said for young adults. Is there anything else that you know would like for us to know as a young adult?
Um, let's see.
Hmm. And so, you know, Nevaeh and Kiana and the team meets every Sunday. Excuse me, I don't know what's wrong with my throat. Every Sunday, well, right now they're going to put together the time, but they meet every Sunday and they'll let you know if it's going to be right after church or at 6:30 until they get a final calendar together. But I think if you are a young adult and you are dealing with this thing called life, you know, you have young adults, a small group that you can come to that understands what you're going through, that understands the struggles. And so if you have a young adult that you know that's going through, if you have a young adult that is transitioning from just being saved, just coming out of the world and being saved, you know, put it in the comments and, you know, give that information so that Nevaeh and Kiana can reach out to them. Because I think it's really important for us to really understand the dynamics of, you know, choosing to walk with God.
Mm-hmm.
Choosing to walk with God as a young adult, choosing to walk with God as a divorced woman, choosing to walk with God as a separate, even with me, choosing to walk with God and being in a different continent than my husband. Like those are things, and I don't know many small groups that's here that people really deal with it. But what about if your spouse have to travel? And they're gone for a week at a time, or it's the same thing whether it's 1 week or 1 month, that it's still there. And I think if we have a group of like-minded people, you know, we can talk about our struggles. What are the same things that we're dealing with? And you know, I know within Radical Faith we are putting together a lot of young, a lot of small groups that will consist of being a widower. That's it, right? Being being divorced, being a young adult, being a single mom. So those are some of the things that if you guys are looking for a small group, even if you're just an older, you know, a group of women that can get together, you know, we're putting together so many small groups within Radical Faith that that if you need a small group, please reach out to us. You know, even if you do not come to the church, you know, we will be able to, you know, let you know which, you know, who's the group leader, you know, what you can do. And I'm not saying don't come, but if you, even if you're just in a place where you don't have it at your church. So I think this is something that we really need. We need like-minded people that's going through the same things to get together. Because if I'm a single mom, my struggle is going to be different than a young adult. Because not only am I a young adult, but I'm a young adult and a single mom. You know, and that's a different struggle. That's a different, you know, life lesson. So I'm not only going through what you're going through as a single adult. Now I'm going through it with a child, which is a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, we really have to push the concept of unity. And I think that's the main thing. If we have unity, then we can discuss whatever we have to discuss. So, you know, Nevaeh, thank you so much for being on Bridging the Gap. You guys, she did an amazing job because she only had, 30 minutes to get it together? Because I was going to do Bridging the Gap by myself, but I was like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do it together.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm glad that she did because a lot of things that she brought up, I didn't even think about as a young adult. So, you know, and as I say every Thursday, if you need me, I am just a phone call away. I'm just a text away. And you guys, I want you to save the date let's see what the date is. I want you to save the date, January 14th through the 17th. We will be having the Encounter Conference. This will be our third annual one, and I'm super excited. I have to pinpoint or the speakers will be, will be put out, but save the date, January 14th through the 17th. It's going to be a mighty move of God. The word that God has for this season is going to be, life changing. So go ahead and mark your calendars. Again, thank you, Miss Nevaeh, for being on.
Thank
And you
you.
all have an amazing night, and we will see you here next week. Bye bye.